This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news of the business of podcasting. Brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Tom Webster. Here's what you need to know for today, Wednesday, March 6th. First, from The Verge, Apple Podcasts now includes Transcripts. With the release of iOS 17.4, the previously announced Apple Podcast transcription feature is now available. Moving forward, all new podcasts will auto-generate transcripts and appear shortly after publication. Podcast backlogs are expected to be transcribed over time as the system catches up. Podcasters have the ability to substitute in their own handmade transcripts and replace the Apple auto-generated one. Users also have the ability to search for words and phrases in a given episode's transcript. An important note on the Apple update, especially relevant to the business side of podcasting, Apple has confirmed that no matter which option a podcast uses, be it Apple's auto-generated version or a self-uploaded transcript, the system is intended to hold space for DAI advertising. It will not transcribe the ad, but the goal is to automatically adjust time codes from the beginning of a DAI insertion marker to the end so that timing remains consistent with the episode. From Right Side Up, what we learned about creative from analyzing $3 million in podcast media. Analyzing podcast ads is a tricky proposition, as methodology commonly used in other mediums cannot be directly grafted onto podcasting. Variables like ad length, embedded versus dynamic placement, episode drop dates, creative liberties in host-read ads, and the time-shifted nature of podcasts being downloaded for later consumption can all wreak havoc on metrics originally intended to measure standard digital advertising. Right Side Up's analysis took data from 7 advertisers across a diverse spread of industries in Q2 of 2023, totaling a media spend of $3 million. Then Magellan AI episode-level data and transcripts were used to break the podcasts advertised down to look at variables like ad placement, length, location, and placement type. Findings include mid-rolls outperforming both pre-rolls and post-rolls for placement. A quiet value add for host-read contracts is that hosts tend to go over their contracted ad length. Right Side Up found the sweet spot for 60-second host-read ad performance was host-read creatives that landed between 1 and 3 minutes. PRX expands digital fundraising resources for public radio stations. The public media organization has announced a new suite of digital resources for terrestrial radio. Sean Nesbitt, the Senior Director of Industry Partnerships at PRX, says the new resources are in line with PRX's intention to forge connections between popular programs and stations, expanding public media further. Public radio stations airing PRX distributed programs will now have access to digital tools like custom fundraising emails from the hosts of shows like This American Life, Latino USA, and Milk Street Radio. Stations that stream their programming on demand online can now access pre-roll fundraising messages also by show hosts in the PRX network. The reverse, also possible, with several PRX distributed podcasts coordinating with radio stations to run a mid-roll promotion for that station's Pledge Week. Resources like this bolster both PRX's relationship with affiliate stations and reaffirms the symbiotic relationship between public radio and podcasting. And from Inside Radio, audio's trust scores jump in a new survey. Radio is at the top. Podcasting has the biggest gains. A new report from Morning Consult, or Morning Consult, depending on where you were raised in this country, compares a survey from 2020 to data collected this past February. Both surveys are built from representative samples of roughly 2,200 U.S. adults, and 63% of respondents say they have either a lot or some trust in radio, up 3% from 2020. Social media had a 12% increase, up to 45% of respondents expressing at least some trust in the medium. Podcasting experienced a more significant jump, going from 27% in 2020 to 45% this year. Morning Consult attributes the growth of podcasting to the growth of social media, as podcasts are commonly discovered via clips shared on platforms like TikTok. And for the rest of the news, Podroll has announced a new dynamic feed drop feature that enables podcasts to do the classic episode feed drop promotional technique at scale. And Price Brothers announced the launch of their contextual advertising service, which includes the ability to use AI voice clones of podcast hosts to generate contextual host-read ads. And finally, in new additions, Libsyn has announced that Rick Sela will be the new EVP for sales at AdvertiseCast, and Global has announced that their new CEO will be Simon Pitts, late of STV. I'm Tom Webster, and in the background, that's Walnut Webster drinking some water. We'll see you next time. Be sure to check out the links in every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, and me, Tom Webster. This episode is hosted on Spreaker. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Tom Webster. Download us again tomorrow.